Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Old Bastards Racing League with the Metro Ford Cup Series. Today, we're at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway, where we're going to go 113 laps wide open around the circuit. Guaranteed to be a good time as we are getting heavily into the playoffs, whittling down the 8 drivers that are going to make it to the final cut. As always, on behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, I'm James East in the booth, bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second, as we get ready to send them out for single car qualifying here today. Guaranteed to be a good one. Now, in a league that's known for their green flag runs, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here today. If we're going to make it all the way to the end without bringing out that rare caution flag, or if it could be a bit of a bloodbath, because once the crashes happen here at Talladega, it gets ugly quickly. We're watching Jonathan Green and the number 37 Ford Mustang go out for his qualifying run. And speaking of manufacturers, we do have the Manufacturers Cup shaking up as well. After Vegas, it's still Toyota out front with 1,156 points, but Chevrolet is close behind with 1,136 points. We've also got Ford lagging behind just slightly with 1,022 points, but as the playoffs come to a close, it is still anyone's game on who's going to be able to bring it home. And as we touched on, we still have 8 drivers in the playoff standings. We've got Thomas Ogle, Josh Robinson, Dwayne Mcarthur, Andrew Hess, Steve Thompson, Patrick Milligan, Dode Hoskins, Brian Lynch, and I believe Gary Kipper, Dakota Pishki, Greg McDaniel, Al Turner still in the playoffs as well. Last week we were at Las Vegas where Tom Ogle brought it home after 160 laps. Today we're at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. And next week we go to the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval as we put the guys in the mix with a few right-hand turns as well. Guaranteed to shake things up just a little bit. Green clicks off a 51.45 but quickly gets edged out by Lee Warsdell, who clicks off a 51.37. We've got Michael Titanium Everhart out on track. His opening lap, he clicked off a 52.09. And let's see who else is going out. Mike Schrader, the number 4, making his way out on track in the Busch Light-sponsored Ford Mustang. As always, we want to give a shout out to eMetroFord.com, this series title sponsor. If you're looking for a new or used truck, check them out, eMetroFord.com. They can and will get you financed with some of the best selection of used vehicles here in the country. Check them out, eMetroFord.com. Always appreciate those guys coming on board week in and week out, helping to support the broadcast in the series. Let's see what type of time Schrader's going to be able to click off here. He hit speeds of about 185 miles an hour on his last lap. Let's see if he can find a little bit more speed riding that outside line as long as he can. And just trying to build up some momentum here. Right now it's still Jess Vaught on top of provisional pole with a 51.32. And let's see what Schrader can click off. I did not see a time recorded for his first time lap. Not sure if he gave the wall a bit of a tail tap as he drops a 52.11 for his qualifying time. Not quite up to pace, probably having a bit of a bobble, if I could guess from what I see in the past. Gary Kipper out on track in the number 68 Reese's Machine, trying to put his Chevrolet Camaro squarely in a good qualifying position. Now, the good news is for these guys that don't normally have the best qualifying sessions here at Talladega, it's not quite a make or break, as I think pretty quickly these drivers are going to hop into formation and start getting through fuel runs. expecting about 30 to 35 laps per fuel run for these competitors. And then we're going to see some very interesting green flag stops. Only 10 drivers have put down qualifying times so far. But in the past, we've seen some drivers wait a little bit to see maybe if the track conditions will change or cool down just by a degree or two and be able to squeeze out a little bit more time. But let's see what Kipper can do in the number 68 machine as he gets ready to come across the start-finish line. Kipper with a 52.13, good enough for 11th in qualifying. We've got Andrew Hess making his way out on track, the number 54 machine. I believe a new paint scheme for Hess as well this week. Switching it up a little bit. As always, thank you so much to everybody that tunes in week and week out, supporting their favorite drivers. It's good to see Fallen God 343 hanging out in the chat with us today. But as always, thank you to everybody across the world that tunes in and makes these broadcasts what they are. I know as a broadcaster, I appreciate it. All the drivers absolutely appreciate it, as they will frequently go back and watch the broadcast post-race, and they definitely notice the guys out there that are cheering them on, the friends and family and the sponsors. We've got Hess finishing up his time lap. Josh Robinson's also out on track with Tom Ogle. And Dean Gear also out. Only a few short minutes left in qualifying. Will anybody be able to dethrone Jess Vaught in the number 10 machine, who put down that 51.32? Let's see what Hess does as he crosses the line. He clicks off at 52.06, so not quite enough. We'll check on Tom Ogle. He's probably one of the most pole-winning drivers so far this season, as he gets ready to cross the start-finish line for the final time here in single-car qualifying. But what is Ogle going to be able to do in the number 11 machine? A 52.71 here today. Now we check on Ogle's teammate, another Team Miata driver, Josh Robinson. And let's see what Robinson clicks off here in the number 23 machine. A 52.05. Tom Ogle able to find some more speed. Clicks off a 51.36, but still 0.04 of a second off from Jess Vaught. There we go. So what you're seeing in qualifying, especially at the super speedways, drivers will hold that outside line as long as they possibly can, building up as much speed as possible before dropping down low on the racetrack, trying to make the track just a little bit smaller. As we're going to see what Robinson clicks off. A 51.35, so 0.03 of a second off from Jess Vaught. So the two Team Miata drivers, Robinson and Ogle, getting a second and third, and they're also teammates with Andrew Hess in the 54 machine. But Jess Vaught has found some pace, and he is going to hold on to pole here today in the number 10. Now, Vaught is not in the playoffs, but he is out here searching for his first win, and that was his very first pole he's gotten so far this season. But let's get ready to take it to tonight's grid and get our running order. Starting on pole, Jess Vaught, the number 10. Josh Robinson starting second. Tom Ogle starting third. Randy Bott starting fourth. Lee Warsdale will be fifth on tonight's grid. Roger Runyon Sr. starting sixth. Mike Schrader starting seventh. Al Turner starting eighth. Brian Lynch starting ninth. Michael Titanium Everhart starting 10th. Greg McDaniel starting 11th. Joe Brown will be starting 12th on tonight's grid. And we cycle back a little bit further. We got Kelly Cool starting 13th. Andrew Hess starting 14th. Jonathan Green 15th. Dode Hoskins starting 16th. Dean Gear starting 17th. Gary the Elf Kipper starting 18th. Clint Rice starting 19th. Chris Gale starting 20th. Bruce Pearson starting 21st. Patrick Milligan starting 22nd. Ken Huff starting 23rd. Dwayne Mcarthur, the fast Canadian, starting 24th here today. Jones starting 25th. James Waldo starting 26th. John Hastings starting 27th. Brian Lindsay starting 28th. Dakota Pishki starting 29th. Steve the Mule Thompson will be starting 30th. Kevin Cormier starting 31st. Dave Mayberry starting 32nd. And Dale Copeland starting 33rd to round out our grid here today. Now, if you're new to watching the Metro Ford Cup Series here at the Old Bastards Racing League, the three-digit number guys are newer to the Metro Ford Cup Series, and they have to run a three-digit number until they are deemed safe enough to battle with the big dogs. And then after they receive their two-digit number, they can go out for qualifying like the rest of the online Metro Ford Cup Series family. And we get ready to cycle them out. A pretty healthy grid, 33 drivers here today. And it's going to be Jess Vaught, Josh Robinson on the front row. The first time this season Vaught has been on pole in the number 10 machine. And let's see if we're going to get the patented green flag runs. And yes, that is Clint Rice in the 108 machine here today. A lot of our viewers at home will notice that some of the leagues I broadcast share a lot of drivers. A lot of drivers will go through and maybe tune in and watch different broadcasts and find a league that they think, you know what, that sounds kind of fun. I want in on that. So a fair amount of crossover here at the Team Goon Squad broadcasting channel. We broadcast about 6 days a week, and some of the drivers you'll see hopping among different series. Pace car is in. We're going to wait for Jess Vaught to get the green flag. Having to go a long way to get to that start-finish line straight here at Talladega, but the green flag will fly, and away we go. It's Jess Vaught on the front row for the first time this season. As Tom Ogle, Lee Warsdale going to pick up some spots quickly as Josh Robinson doesn't quite get the momentum needed on the outside line. Robinson's got Randy Bott right behind him as well, but that inside line groove is formed up relatively quickly as it looks like the field's going to click into single file formation here. Robinson slid back to 6th place after starting on the front row. And just unfortunately nowhere to slot in on that inside line. It's still Robinson and Bott out there kind of in no man's land. Robinson in the number 23 machine, Bott in the number 69. Dakota Pishki comes down pit lane. He received a DOL penalty as well as a drive-through penalty coming into tonight's race. So unfortunately Pishki in the number 1 is going to have a lot of ground to try and make up through here today with his penalty he received. That inside line just has so much momentum. Robinson, who started on the front row, is now back all the way into 10th. Up front, it's still Jess Vaught, Tom Ogle, Lee Warsdale, Mike Schrader, Brian Lynch making up our top 5 here today. Looks like we had 2 drivers possibly not get out on the grid. It could be Ken Huff and Dale Copeland. I believe Huff did make it out on track in the number 46 machine, but Copeland in the number 100 was not able to get out. Meanwhile, Greg McDaniel in the number 30 machine running 6th on track. He's got the fastest lap of the race with a 48.98, and he is squarely in traffic running 6th. He's got Brian Lynch ahead of him, Kelly Cool behind him. Now, they talked about in the drivers' meeting with such a long, fast track, there's really not a big reason to push too hard too early on. And we had one of our viewers ask, hey, how do I get on a racing with these guys? Check them out, the Old Bastards Racing League. One of probably the cleanest series I think we broadcast weekly in the Team Blue Squad broadcasting channel. They've got a minimum age of 35 years to get in on the league, and they've got a very cool incident point per lap system that they use to decide who's maybe driving over their head and who is worthy of being declared a clean driver. So they've got a maximum incident point per lap that they allocate for these drivers that's measured after your first 4 races. And then if you find yourself maybe getting involved in a few more crashes than you should, they'll take a look and say, hey, this driver's way over the incident point limit. And they will assign DOLs and probations and fun stuff like that. But these guys provide some of the cleanest racing across the board. Went ahead and gonna put a poll up in the chat. Let us know what you think. Are these guys gonna go green for the duration of the event, or are we gonna see the big one here at Talladega? It's Jess Vaught still out front, clicking it off, not having any big worries in the number 10 machine, racing with Vigilante Racing. He is going to lead Tom Ogle's Pumpkin Spice White Claw machine around the track once more. Now Vaught, so far this season, has 7 starts with 2 DNFs, and he's got 2 top 10s with an average finish of about 17th. But he's a fairly clean racer. He averages about a 3X per race. And he's completed about 900 laps before tonight's event. His highest finish was at Daytona, another super speedway, back on August 29th. He got a 7th, and then he also picked up a 9th at Richmond, so good to see him out here today. And look at that. The caution comes out already, as it's going to be a big one. Kipper, Lindsay, Mcarthur all involved in that one. We'll take a quick look and see what may have happened. Ooh, looks like the number 112 maybe checked up there. And oh, look at Mccarthy go for a ride. So the 68 got into the 112. The number 130 just kind of hooked into Kipper, nowhere to go there. And look at the airtime from both Mccarthy and the number 24 machine of Brian Lindsay, absolutely wadding up those machines. I'm going to try and find one more camera angle here, as that was a hit and a half. You're on board with Dwayne Mcarthur, the fast Canadian, and the number 97 machine. And just like that, nowhere to go. Kipper gets hooked, comes across, and Mccarthy goes for a spectacular ride. So Kipper, Lindsay, and Mccarthy are going to be going back to pit lane to try and get those damages repaired. As a reminder, there are no fast repairs here for the Old Bastards Racing League Metro Ford Series. And that is going to end that pole pretty quickly. As the entire field's going to come down pit road. As we're going to try and see if we can get Dwayne Mcarthur up here in the booth with us. But I believe he has left the building. And that will bring out the first caution of the night. Kind of tough to point blame on that one. It looked like the field kind of checked up, and there's a little bit of bumping and grinding. And when you're that tight racing, double file, not a lot of real estate to go. As now it looks like it's going to be Michael Titanium Everhart, who did not pit. He's going to be our race leader for the restart and the number 17 machine, followed by Ken Huff in the 46 in the front row. But I believe that Kipper, Mccarthy, and Lindsay will be done for the evening. Mad Dog MC giving his buddy Dwayne Mcarthur a little bit of harassment there in our spectator lane. You hate to see it from McCarthy. He's one of our favorite drivers to talk to week in and week out, and just nowhere to go on that one. We're going to get ready to re-rack them for the first restart of the night. And it's going to be Everhart on the front row for the first time, accompanied by Ken Huff, number 46 machine. And here we go. Let's see what Everhart can do. Old Titanium on the front row on the inside line. He's accompanied by Jess Vaught, your previous race leader and pole setter, but Vaught did come in for fuel. Good to see Titanium out there running strong. One of the nicest guys in the paddock that you'll ever have the pleasure of talking to. Now Ken Huff is going to slot on the inside line, picking up the race lead from Everhart. Tom Ogle still out there on the outside line, kind of in no man's land. He's going to try and get to the inside line as quickly as he can. Let's check on Tom Ogle leading that outside line. A lot of fast guys with him, but with that inside line having more cars, in theory they should be able to pick up more momentum. I don't think we're going to see any of our drivers working that side draft too aggressively here. Again, no one wanting to risk bringing out a second caution early on. That is not quite the norm here for the Metro Ford Cup Series. These guys normally have very long green flag runs. So we're expecting these guys to be able to stay out to about lap 40 or so before we start seeing that fuel window open. It's Tom Ogle, Greg McDaniel leading that outside line, trying to reel back up to Ken Huff and Michael Everhart leading the inside line. Jess Vaught, the number 10 machine, he is third on track and third on the inside line. Watching to see what the race leaders do, knowing he can stretch it out on fuel more than they can since he came in on lap 8 for that splash up after the first caution. We just got a report back from pit wall. Dwayne Mcarthur, number 97, has got 11 minutes to repair. He's going to have to go back out whenever he can to try and survive the playoffs. He is one of the drivers that is trying to make it to the next round of the Chase playoffs. So expect Mccarthy to get back out on track whenever he can to try and salvage some points. Gary Kipper has rejoined the race as well, the number 68 machine. after sitting in his pit box for about 3 minutes. John Hastings, I believe, also out on track. We got Brian Lindsay and Mcarthur still in pit road, though. We got Hank Besaw join us tonight, cheering on his friends. Not able to make it out in a race here today, but always good seeing Hank in whatever capacity we can. What a great shot, just showing how fast these competitors are going around the high banks of Talladega, hitting speeds of excess of 205 miles an hour when they are running in this large draft pack. Tom Ogle still stuck on that outside line. Not able to make any big moves here as he's still in about that 6th place spot on track as he's side by side with Kelly Cool, who's on the inside in that blue and white race machine in the number 85. Up front, it's still Ken Huff leading Michael Titanium Everhart with Jess Vaught right around in 3rd. Huff, another driver that's out of the playoffs and still out here looking for his first win out of 19 starts. He's got 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s. His highest finish was all the way back Valentine's Day, February 14th, where he picked up a 3rd at Daytona. So it'll be interesting to see if Huff can maybe play to those strengths of his super speedway experience and maybe bring home another win here today. Or not another win, excuse me, a first win. Right now, everybody's keeping it nice and clean, not having too many big issues. Just blasting around, getting through the fuel run here at Talladega. Again, we're expecting the fuel window to open up around the lap 40 mark for these guys. Estimated fuel window is about 30 to 35 laps is what we're hearing from the racers going into tonight's event. Now, I'd like the record to show that I can no longer make fun of Tom Ogle's White Claw Pumpkin Spice machine, as I have just been brought a Pumpkin Spice latte here in the broadcast booth. So I'll have to quit teasing my buddy Ogle a little bit as much. Now, Ogle ran a bright pink White Claw-backed Toyota Camry all season, but for fall time, he switched it up with the old Pumpkin Spice. Tom Ogle, nothing but seasonal here. Always good seeing the Team Miata driver out on track. A very consistent driver week in and week out. field's gotten back in single file formation. Ogle and friends have slotted in whatever they can. Now, if you go back to about, I think that's going to be about 13th, 14th, right behind Dode Hoskins, you've got Cajun Jones, Brian Lynch, Josh Robinson, still looking for a place to slot in at. Dwayne Mcarthur has rejoined the racetrack after being his pit stall for 15 minutes. He's going to get back out on track and try and battle some here today. Now McCarthy's going to be about 14 laps down, I believe, if I did my broadcasting math correctly. So he's going to be one of those drivers just hoping for a little bit of bad luck for somebody else out on track that's in playoff contention so he can salvage some points here today and try and stay in this chase playoff. Now, I don't want to say the first round of playoffs was easy for our drivers to stay in, but they did have some guys that were unable to make it out to the races and were very quickly able to hold on to those positions. But once you get into the second round of playoffs where we whittle it down to 8 drivers, it suddenly gets a whole lot tougher. We've got 12 drivers still in the playoffs, and we've got today at Talladega and Charlotte next week before we whittle it down to 8 drivers. Then we go to Texas Motor Speedway, Kansas Speedway, and Martinsville. And then we're going to decide it amongst 4 drivers for the season finale, November 7th at Phoenix. As it's going to be interesting to see what this green flag stop shapes up to be for our drivers. I say week in and week out, green flag stops are probably one of my favorite things of the broadcast. It allows the guys to show their strategy on and off the track, not necessarily while they're driving, but what they can do as far as planning as well. And we've absolutely seen races won or lost here on pit road. Up front, it's still Ken Huff, Mike Everhart, Jess Vaught, Mike Schrader, Al Turner, your top 5. And I believe Ken Huff and Everhart are 2 drivers that have not pitted yet. We show Huff as a lap 0 pit stop. So I'm not sure if he came out late or what may have happened with Huff in the number 46 machine, but he is up 22 positions after staying out that last pit cycle under caution. Everhart also opted to stay out. So we should see Everhart be able to stretch it out to about lap 35 or 37, the latest, I believe. While the rest of the field should be able to stay out till around lap 40 to 45, I believe, is the rough estimated fuel window for these guys. And let's cycle back through the field. I believe it's pretty much going to be single file all the way around. As we watch Dode Hoskins in the number 66 machine, he's up 4 spots into 12th here today. Another one of those drivers that we know each and every week watches through the broadcast. Clint Rice clicks off the fastest lap of the race with a 48.85. Rice is back into 14th place. He's up 5 spots in his triple-digit 108 Chevrolet Camaro. Rice, one of those drivers we've called out in other leagues, so good to see him joining the Metro Ford Cup Series as well, searching for some good, clean racing among some like-minded drivers. Other rookies we've got out on track, Dave Mayberry in the 119. He's up 15 spots into 17th so far in the Ford Mustang. You've also got Kevin Cormier in the 112. He's being chased by James Waldo in the 130. 2 more triple-digit new guys here for the Metro Ford Cup Series. Out here running strong, trying to meet that minimum incident points per lap so they can join the big guys and maybe battle with a little bit less fear in their hearts, worried about incident points. Cycle back up front to Jess Vaught. Now running third. He was our pole setter. He's behind 2 drivers that have done an alternative pit strategy. So let's see how that plays out over the course of a long run. I'm still having to liberally use the push to mute up here in the broadcast booth. Still dealing with that cough, but thank you guys for bearing with me. It's been really great being back in the booth here for the Old Bashers Racing League guys. There's a lot of great guys out on track, and they find themselves having fun week in and week out. Doesn't matter if they're battling for a podium or battling for a personal best in 15th. They're all having fun. And these guys race with each other, I believe, 4 times a week. We've got the Truck Series, the ARCA Series, the Xfinity Series, and then the Premier Cup Series that runs on Sunday mornings. And even when they're not racing those 4 different events, a lot of the guys will run all 4 events. They have practice nights pretty much every night they're not racing, and hanging out with their online friends from across the world. So if you're 35 years of age or older and looking for a good, clean series, check them out, Old Bastards Racing League. Probably one of the most fun ones to broadcast as well, because they don't crash often, but when they do, it can be absolutely spectacular. We've clicked off 31 laps so far out of 113 scheduled for today's event. So in a race that's scheduled to run for about an hour and a half here today, it's going to be interesting to see how driver attrition plays into effect. How long is Titanium Everhart going to be able to stretch it out here today? As he is one of the few drivers up there that has not come in yet. Now he did have a couple of laps under caution to do a bit of fuel saving. So it'll be interesting to see if he can stretch it out to lap 38 before he has to come in. Now if he has to come in by himself, that's going to really, really hurt Titanium Everhart, the number 17 machine, as he will not have a draft partner to come back out on the circuit with. Lap traffic's about to come into play. I believe that's going to be Gary Kipper, who was involved in that early incident here today. He's about 3 laps down from your race leaders. Not having too terrible of damage, still able to get out on track and circulate. And our great drone shot provided by Metro Ford, following these drivers around the high banks of Talladega. Track, it's about an hour and a half for me. I'll call it about 2 hours in the broadcasting booth here in Georgia. I raced at Little Talladega, the sport bike and small car circuit, but I've never made it out to the high banks of Talladega. I need to add that one onto the old bucket list. Trying to decide between Talladega or Bristol for the first NASCAR race I get to go see in person whenever broadcasting allows me to. Lap times are pretty much staying where they've been at throughout the duration of the race. Everhart and Huff clicked off 49.13s as their best. Their last time by, both drivers clicked off 49.46s. So tire wear not really a factor for any of the drivers at this point. It'll be interesting to see if they double stint their tires here. For those guys, they're trying to gain track position more than anything. Now the big question is, how long is Everhart going to be able to stay out for, as well as Ken Huff? Huff shows he pitted on lap 0. Everhart shows as no pitting being done yet. And just as we say it, Huff and Everhart are going to have to come down pit road for their first stop of the race under green flag conditions. Jess Vaught will take over the race lead. Now Vaught, really pretty much everybody out on track right now, came in on lap 8 during that first caution. And we've got a little bit of 2-wide action as Thompson is going to try and get around Dean Gear, who's on the outside, kind of in no man's land, as well as number 37 of Jonathan Green, trying to get that outside groove working. As Green is going to slot in front of Bott. Unfortunately, Gear is out there by himself. He's going to drop back several spots here as this second pack of drivers gets into single file formation. Now this draft package, not necessarily a favorite amongst most of the drivers. There's a bit of a bubble, so when you're running single file, you can get relatively close, usually within about 4 feet or so of the driver in front of you, before there's actually an air cushion between the two drivers. that is very, very hard to pop under your own power. The driver in front of you almost has to drag the brake slightly to break that bubble so you can link up bumper to bumper and push your way through the track. Bump drafting, not necessarily the fastest way around the circuit. But Milligan in the number 18 machine's looking for a way through. He's going to get accompanied by Steve Thompson, Dakota Pishki, and I believe Scales is also going to follow in line here to make their way around the number 69 of Bott and the number 37 of Green, 2 Ford drivers. As Bott is going to come into pit lane here, a whole lot of drivers going to come down pit lane on lap 39. Ogle, Brown, Hess, McDaniel, Robinson, Lynch, Bott all coming down. Jess Vought's going to stay out. About the top 17 drivers are going to stay out here. But again, this is one of my favorite things about the Metro Ford Cup Series. You see a lot of talented drivers really hold on to it and work out some different strategies, and that's going to really play into the race later on. We've got Eric Whiting that's joining us in the spectator area as well, saying thanks, glad you're here to hear you're doing a little bit better. Eric, good to be back, man. It was a rough couple of weeks, especially that onset of COVID. I was completely useless for about a week straight. Started broadcasting again last Sunday, coming back for the Metro Ford Cup Series. And I've got to say, about 2 hours I can handle just fine. Anything after that was kind of tough. We run a show on Tuesday nights, 2 different shows on Tuesday nights, one at 9 and one at 11 p.m. And towards the end of that 11 p.m. show, I was done, my friends. But really good to be back, especially at the Metro Ford Cup Series, one of my favorite leagues to call the action for. And we got a little bit of racing going on up front as now Dylan Hoskins is going to lead a lap here at Talladega as Jess Vaught has come down pit lane. So 33 laps seems to be the magic number for our competitors on how long they can stretch it out. So now it's Hoskins, Jones, Warsdale, Rice, and Turner your top 5. As the green flag pit stops really starting to shake things up. Clint Rice getting a whole lot of love from the spectators. Rice out here, I believe, in his debut in the 108 machine. We'll see if we can check on that and make sure that's his first race. I was mistaken. This is his second. He ran at Bristol when I was out sick that week, where Rice was able to start 26th and pick up a 12th after receiving an 8X in that incident. But Bristol, that's a tough one to make your season debut, especially as a triple-digit number. The Coliseum does not lend itself well to those that are looking for good luck. Hoskins moves to the middle line. That's going to allow Jones, Warsdale, and possibly Rice to make their way through. Not sure if that's drivers communicating pit strategy or what that may be, as Hoskins tentatively gets back in line. And now Jones, Raging Cajun Jones, apparently his full legal name, the number 14 machine. We'll get a lap led here at Talladega. Maybe Hoskins was more comfortable following than he was leading, or maybe trying to keep fuel saving in the back of his mind. As no, look at that, the field's all going to come down except for Roger Runyon Sr. and the number 71 machine. And look at that mad dash onto pit lane, almost getting 3 wide there on the entry. So now Roger Running is going to be the lone driver that stays out in the number 71 machine. Picking up a lap lead. I'd expect him to come by this next time by. As again, Running, I believe, with the longest fuel run so far out of any of our competitors. Yes, he's going to make it stretch out to about 37 laps on a tank of gas. And then has a big blink going into pit lane as well. So now it'll be Tom Ogle and the White Claw Pumpkin Spice number 11 Toyota Camry. He is going to lead the pack. He's followed by Joe Brown, Andrew Hess, Greg McDaniel, Josh Robinson, Jess Vaught, Mike Schrader, all in a pretty tight pack here. Now, we had a good point from Victory Lane that the aero package not quite as conducive to good racing as we've seen in the past or with other cars. The trucks, I believe, provide a better racing show. The Xfinity cars definitely do. And the ARCA cars kind of given a take on super speedways on if the overall racing is better, because with the ARCA and Arts cars, there is pretty much no bump drafting that can happen safely without sending your friends careening around. But I think part of that is the package, and part of that is finding yourself involved with racers that are consistently clean week in and week out. Now, you could definitely make bigger strides than what we're seeing the guys do here today as far as bump drafting or side drafting, but I think it's a combination. You've got a draft package that you have to work really, really hard at to make any big moves, and you've also got drivers that know, hey, I don't have to make any big moves until about a lap 100 or so, and you've got 10, maybe 15 laps left to go. You're going to try and make up some spots. So what I think you're seeing right now, as I don't want to say it's not exciting, but a little bit tamer than what we've seen in the past, is a bunch of smart drivers knowing what it takes to win home or bring home a championship and make it to the next round of playoffs. One of my broadcasting team members, Mason Heimbaugh, he called a race the other day at Talladega that was 188 laps, and it went green the entire time. So I think that's what happens when you get a bunch of very talented drivers that know what it takes to get to the very end and bring home some points in a draft package that lends itself to aggressive driving to try and make any big moves. And right now, I mean, we've got about 7 drivers in the lead pack. Ogle, Brown, Hess, McDaniel, Robinson, Vaught, and Schrader. And what we're going to see here, what I think we're going to see is these guys click off single file laps, because they know behind them you've got this second pack of drivers led by Kelly Cool, Ken Huff, Mike Everhart, Brian Lynch, Jones, Rice, Bott, Milligan. The hitches keep coming. Steve Thompson. Hoskins is there, Turner, Warsdale, Pishki, Gear. I mean, that's 10, 15 drivers that are running nose to tail here that in theory should be able to whittle away at that 5-second gap that the lead pack has. It's about 4.9 seconds between Mike Schrader in 7th and Kelly Cool in 8th. And that last lap, Cool was able to gain about 1/10 of a second over Schrader. So in theory, If this second pack can stay single file and just keep their head down and click off laps, they should be able to catch back up to the lead pack in about 10 laps is my rough guess. And our lead pack of drivers, they absolutely know what's coming. These guys are using spotters. They've got friends calling the action, and some of the drivers will have the broadcast pulled up on a separate screen so they can listen along on a very slight delay for any words of wisdom I may provide, or sometimes just useless words. They kind of whittle it in and out on what's good or not. But most importantly, that lead pack has got to know that there's a freight train coming, and it would really behoove them up front to stay single file as well, because they do not want to go double file, slow down the pack, and suddenly find themselves with 10 more people to battle with. Another interesting tidbit here today, Dakota Pishki, who had that start of the race EOL and a green flag drive-through penalty, worked his way back onto the lead lap, now running 20th position, up 9 spots from where he started. So that is one driver that definitely was thankful for that original caution, allowing him to get back out here, salvage some points in the number 1 machine. Brian Lindsay finally coming out of pit lane in the number 24 machine after we saw him upside down for that early crash here today. Coming back out, trying to get some seat time with his friends. Wanting to go play in traffic with the rest of the gang. Now Cool has gained about a half a second on the lead pack so far. Just keeping his head down, clicking off laps. Expecting the next pit stop for these guys, about 15 laps, around 68 is when we're expecting most of the drivers to come down pit road once more. As our favorite Canadian Dwayne Mcarthur gets swallowed up by the lead pack once more. Excuse me, the second pack, I should say. But Cool and the friends are making some big strides. Less than 4 seconds separates Cool from the lead pack. Tom Ogle still your race leader. Joe Brown running second. Current hardest charger on track is Ken Huff in the number 46 machine, who did get some laps led here at Talladega. He is still up 14 spots. Because Ken Huff is doing his best to push Kelly Cool up towards victory. Looks like Cool and them fell off. They lost about a quarter of a second that last time by over the lead pack. going to check on Tom Ogle still out front, charging hard with Joe Brown, Andrew Hess, Greg McDaniel, Josh Robinson, Jess Vaught, Mike Schrader, all in that lead pack of 7 drivers. But you've got 3 of the Team Miata guys in this pack that are going to be working together. That's Tom Ogle, Andrew Hess, Josh Robinson. And those guys have really showed what it takes to make good strategized calls on pit road. So that is 3 drivers out of 7 in the lead pack that you can guarantee are going to work together here today. As we are past the halfway mark for our competition. And only one caution has reared its head so far. But how long is Ogle and this lead pack going to stretch it out for? We're expecting them to come in around lap 69, but these guys may have a bit different strategy going forward. And what I find very interesting is who's going to take 2 tires, who's going to take 4 tires, and who's going to just splash off on fuel here and try and gain some more track positions. It's always a give and a take to see who's going to do what. Brown and Ogle, your race leaders, just running nose to tail, clicking it off, hitting the marks over and over again. But Kelly Cool in the second pack has whittled down the gap to the lead pack to about 3 seconds. Not sure if they're going to catch them before this next scheduled pit stop. It's behind them. We got a little bit of too wide action. Lap traffic yields the position. That was Dwayne Mcarthur, I believe Brian Lindsay. Both driving wounded out here today, but salvaging as much points as they possibly can. But unfortunately for Kelly Cool and Ken Huff, with this side-by-side action that we're seeing, that is slowing down their drive. They've already lost about 0.4 of a second to the lead pack as the field has broken formation and started to go too wide here and about 5 rows deep behind the leaders of the second pack. So I do not believe they're going to catch the lead pack in time for this next scheduled fuel stop. as they have lost a full second after that field broke down into double file. They are back to 4 seconds behind the lead pack. They had it down to almost under 3 seconds there for a while. But I believe just some of the guys getting antsy, ready to go back out there and try and pick up some spots. I believe that's Jones on the outside line and the number 14 machine trying to get that outside line formed up, as well as Clint Rice, the newcomer in the 108 machine, is going to follow in tow. But he's also got Patrick Milligan, Steve Thompson, Dakota Pishki, and can't quite see who that is. Possibly Jonathan Green? No. It's Dean Gear in the number 92 machine. Looks like a 3 from up here in the booth. So a lot of fast, talented guys on that outside line trying to get something formed up, but just not sure if it's going to pay out well dividends, as now they're about 4.4 seconds back from the lead pack. But this is where the pit strategy is going to be very important for this second pack to see who's going to grab some more spots. Because up front, Ogle and friends still running single file. No sign of slowing down. I believe everybody's going to be content hot lapping here. They've got to be keeping an eye on the time, realizing they are gaining time and chances to breathe here whenever they stay in the single file format. Expecting the pit window to open up in the next 3 to 4 laps for this lead pack. Tom Ogle's been out front pretty much the entire duration here, so in theory he should be burning a little bit more fuel than the guys behind him who are able to stay in that draft and not, they may be able to burp the throttle every now and then to avoid running over their friends in front of them. But let's see when Ogle's going to lean him down and which of his teammates will follow suit. Now, generally, the Team Miata guys aren't always on the 100% same page when it comes to pit strategy. You may see 2 out of the 3 drivers in that pack, Ogle, Hess, or Robinson. 2 out of 3 of those guys will probably make a move together. But historically, they've always got one guy on the team willing to try something different. So let's see if that's going to be the case here today, or if they're going to work as an entirety of the 3-man team and come down pit road together. Everybody clicking off laps here. No worries in the front row of the top 7 drivers. They extended that lead to about 5.75 seconds. So this second pack of drivers lost almost 3 seconds once everybody started breaking out into double file formation. But the big question is how long is Ogle and friends going to lead him around for? Ogle still clicking off laps. His last time by a 49.19 compared to his best of a 48.89. His top speed tonight, 207 miles an hour out of the White Claw Max number 11. They're going to stretch it out another lap. The fuel window is officially open for these drivers. Now, majority of the drivers in this top 7 pack came in on lap 39. A few of the drivers, such as Jess Vaught, Mike Schrader, Kelly Cool's in the second pack. All those guys came in on lap 40 for a pit stop. So some of the drivers can stretch it out another lap, but it looks like all of the Team Yada drivers came in on lap 39, so expecting them to pit together on this cycle. And here we go, diving down pit road. Tom Ogle's going to send it in deep. But look at that, Joe Brown tries to make a pass going into pit road. Absolutely hucks it in there. Ogle able to hold on to the race lead, but that was exciting. Kelly Cool's going to take over the race lead. He's one of those drivers that came in on lap 40. Behind him, Ken Huff came in on lap 36. So Cool can stretch it out another lap if he needs to, but Huff and Everhart running second and third out on track at this time. They're going to be eyeing that fuel gauge and saying, all right, we got to come in pretty soon here. Looks like all of our drivers in the lead pack able to get through pit lane. No worries. Everybody taking 4 tires and fuel for the most part. And now they're boxed anywhere between 14 and 15 seconds. Mike Schrader had a bit of a bobble in pit lane, I believe. He was in his stall for about 22 seconds. Maybe had some repairs he wanted to get ironed out real quickly. Maybe bang a quarter panel back into shape. Now again, Cool came in on lap 40 for his last pit stop. Huff came in on lap 36. So it'll be interesting to see if Cool stretches it out a little bit further compared to the rest of the field, as Huff and Everhart and a whole lot of other drivers are going to dive down pit lane. As well as Cool makes a late call to come down in the number 85 machine. You've got Ken Huff, Kelly Cool, Everhart, Lynch, Hoskins, Bott all came in together. And now we've got a pack of drivers that have stayed out a little bit later. It's Turner, Warsdale, Rice, Jones, Milligan, Thompson, Pishki, and Gear, as well as Green and Scales. Everybody out on track right now except for Dean Gear, who's running 8th in the number 19 machine, came in on lap 44. Gear came in on lap 41. So all these guys really stretching it out after that lap 9 pit stop. As now Rice in the 108 is going to dive down pit lane by himself, it appears. Now these guys are going to be able to stretch out that mileage a fair amount. They went 35 laps on their last tank of gas. So that means around lap 79 is when we can expect these drivers to pit in once more. Where it's been about 7 cars at a time leading the lead pack, but lap traffic may make things exciting here. As your race leader, Turner, is going to have to be the first driver to cut through this traffic. Looks like everybody's able to get through pretty clean and easy so far. Now lap traffic is expected to yield the low line here at Talladega. Turner doing his best to cut through traffic here. I believe that's going to be Bott and Schrader just ahead of your race leader, fighting to stay on the lead lap. I'm interested to see Turner's point of view here. Is he hoping those drivers get out of the way? Or is he happy somebody else is punching through the air on his behalf and he may be able to save a little bit of fuel here? But he's also got to know as well, yep, just like that, his pit cycle's coming up. So Turner is going to come down pit lane as well as Warsdale and Gear. Jones, Milligan, Thompson, and Pishki stay out. So now Jones will have the luxury of punching through traffic first. As he's got Kevin Cormier, Bott, and Schrader just ahead of him. Cormier yields the line pretty quickly. One of the newcomers in the triple-digit number. But surprised to see these guys stretching out that fuel allotment. We expected them to come in on lap 79. Maybe they'll come in next time by, but we're about to see how far these drivers can truly stretch it out for. Because this should be their final scheduled stop of the night, barring any late race caution shenanigans. interested to see if how long Jones is going to stay out for. As he's been out there since lap 44, as well as Milligan, Thompson, and Pishki all came in on lap 44 together. So I think they're going to stretch it out as long as they possibly can to have themselves on the freshest set of tires to bring home the end of the race here. And they do have the luxury of having someone else push air on their behalf. But we've got a crash somewhere out on track. It's Roger Runyon involved in an incident. And the number 71 machine, he's going to get off track and avoid bring out the caution. Let's take a quick look and see what happened to Runyon there. Terrible camera angle. May have been the iRacing blinking that caused that. Didn't see any big issues out of Runyon. So it could have been getting picked up from iRacing, but just like that, Milligan, Jones, Pishki, Thompson all come down pit lane for their final stop of the night. Are we going to see anybody only take 2 tires? No. Milligan, number 18 Ford Mustang, is going to take 4, and he's going to roll back out, but it's going to be Jones beating him to the end of pit lane just ever so slightly. But now it's going to be Greg McDaniel, your race leader. Now McDaniel, Hess, Brown, Ogle, Vaught, Robinson all came in on lap 70. Are they going to be able to stretch it out to the end on fuel, though? That's going to be tough. These drivers are going to have to go 43 laps to bring it home at the end. So we may see a one on pit strategy between Jones, Milligan, Thompson, Pishki, who all came in on lap 81 together. They may be on a winning strategy here because those guys can draw it out to the end without another race. Now what I think most people like Jones, Thompson, Pishki, those guys are going to be praying for a good, oh no, Patrick Milligan comes back down pit road. He must have had a speeding penalty leaving the pits. Milligan with the stop and go. Well, unfortunately ruined the race for Patrick Milligan, the number 18 machine. I was about to say Jones, Thompson, and Pishki are going to be hoping we go green to the rest of the checkered flag here, as they should be able to make it on fuel compared to the rest of the field that came in on lap 70. Is going to be a little bit short. But we talk about it week in and week out, how these races can be won or lost on pit strategy and a little bit of luck, and unfortunately that was the case for Patrick Milligan. But what is going to happen here as the laps are clicking off for our competitors? In theory, Jones, Thompson, and Pishki are looking good for a race win, knowing they can stretch it out on fuel. They're only about 14 seconds behind the lead pack, and they've got more than enough fuel to make it all the way to the very end. It's going to be very interesting to see what McDaniel and Hess are going to do here. Your race leaders, everybody inside the top 6, came in on lap 70. Lap traffic of Brian Lindsay and Gary Kipper yielding the inside line to your race leaders. Not wanting to get tangled up in somebody else's race that's going on up front. And both those guys are out there just trying to salvage some playoff points. "26 laps left to go." Your lead pack of 6 drivers able to stretch it out here. They're still about 14 seconds ahead of your second pack, which is led by Jones with Thompson and Pishki in tow as well. As well as I believe Milligan has rejoined this group, but he's going to be a lap down, unfortunately, from the lead pack. But all these drivers here on screen running 7th, 8th, and 9th came in on lap 81. So in theory, more than enough fuel to stretch it out to the end. A gamble that may pay big dividends for these guys. Let's see what's going to happen. I'm intrigued, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not quite sure. We've seen big races won or lost on strategy here. This may be one of them. It's going to be very interesting to see if the gamble of Jones, Thompson, and Pishki really pays off here at the end. The only other driver that was on the same strategy was Milligan, who had that pit lane penalty. You may also have Warsdell in the number 99 machine. He's currently 15th on track. He came in around lap 78 with Dean Gear as well in the number 92 machine. And possibly Al Turner, number 76 machine, may be able to stretch it out as he came in at lap 78 as well. As we ride on board with Steve the Mule Thompson, the number 67 machine. Things are shaking up though, ladies and gentlemen, as your lead pack has come down pit road. McDaniel, Brown, Hess, Ogle, Vaught, Robinson are going to pit for the final time here today at Talladega. That's going to allow Jones, Thompson, Pishki to take over the top 3. Oh, this is going to be exciting with 23 laps left to go. This lead pack very much in single file, as you've got about 10 drivers in this lead pack, a little bit stretched out. About 1.3 seconds separates 10th place Dean Gear from first place Jones. But with 10 cars running in single file, that's going to be very tough for the rest of the field to catch up. So Jones is going to be your race leader, but he's got a bunch of fast guys behind him. But to me, it looks like most drivers in the top 10 here are going to have to pit once more. As Huff, Cool, Hoskins, Lynch, Everhart all came in last time by in lap 72, so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to stretch it out here to the end. Possibly Warsdale and again Gear may be able to stretch it out. They came in lap 78, but your top three, Jones, Thompson, Pishki, came in lap 81. A gamble that may pay off very well for him here today. Should be able to stretch it out to the very end, but Jones is out front pushing that air by himself. That's going to burn up slightly more fuel. This is going to be quite the shakeup here today. Oh, this is going to be intriguing to see what happens. Nineteen laps left to go for our competition. Are we going to see tonight's race won or lost on tire, mostly fuel strategy here today? As Jones, Thompson, Pishki looking to be in a great chance here to bring home a win. I'm going to take a quick break here. We'll keep you pointed at the action, but don't go anywhere. Things are about to shake up for our drivers. And back after grabbing some water and some more cough medicine, we're good to go for the duration of the event here. It's still Jones, Thompson, Pishki, your top three. McCarthy had an inter-pit lane, maybe having some sort of race-ending incident where the car may have finally just given out on the number 97. But let's see who's going to be able to bring it home here till the end. Right now, Jones, Thompson, and Pishki, three drivers that are praying that the caution flag does not come out, as they are in a good position to possibly win it on pit strategy. As well as Warsdale and Gear, excuse me, running 9th and 10th. Also maybe in a good spot here to pick up a couple of positions at the end, as a large portion of the top 10 has not come in since lap 72. That's going to put them about 7 laps short to the end, barring any cautions. Left to go. Our lead pack has about a 20-second advantage over 11th place. Randy Bott he's accompanied by Joe Brown, Jess Vaught, Greg McDaniel, Andrew Hess, Tom Ogle, Josh Robinson. A bunch of drivers that came in on lap 90, and once they realized they're going to be a fair bit short on fuel here, we're watching Ken Huff, number 46 machine. He's up 19 spots here today. But again, he came in on lap 72 for his last pit stop. In a night where it's been drivers pushing about 35 laps at a time on a tank. He is the first driver inside the top 5 that's going to be looking at that fuel gauge very intently and wondering just how far he can stretch it out for. Now we are lap 101. We expect to see Huff, Poole, Hoskins, Lynch, and Everhart come in around the lap 107 mark. So those guys are going to have about 5 laps left to go. They're going to find themselves about 6 laps short on fuel here today. But I would imagine they're going to stay out as long as they possibly can, hoping for a late race caution to fall in their favor. But your top 3 drivers of Jones, Thompson, Pishki are absolutely hoping for the opposite, wanting to go green until the very end here today. These drivers have been out on track for about an hour and 50 minutes now. And with only 1 caution early on, that is not a lot of time to breathe and relax. And the other big question is, with 10 laps left to go, if and when are we going to see any breakout moves to try and battle for the lead, or is everybody going to stay slotted in and happy to pick up some podium points? I know Thompson's looking for some more points. He's had a couple of rough races this round of playoffs. He's got to be happy with a second here today. Couple more laps, so we're expecting Huff, Cool, Hoskins, Lynch, Everhart to come in for a final pit stop, forcing to splash off here. Put just enough gas in to eke it out to the end and try and salvage as many positions as they can. Now they're still about 20 seconds ahead of 11th place and back, everybody inside our top 10. But even with a short stop, just taking fuel, you're still in pit lane for about 35 seconds. That'll put them way back from the majority of the field. That came in on lap 90 for that final gamble. James Waldo, he's going to come down pit lane for a final stop of the night. Waldo in and out, just splashing off fuel. He's in his box for only 6.88 seconds, only taking fuel at this point, just enough to make it to the end, but 7 laps left to go. The top 3, again, they're comfortably going to be able to make it to the end on fuel. But you've got 4th through 7th that's going to be very, very tight on fuel. I'm not sure if they can make it to the end. As you can look behind you, you've got Dode Hoskins involved in quite a battle for 6th. Hoskins has Brian Lynch with him, Lee Warsdale, Dean Gear, Michael Everhart, as they're swapping around positions here. And this is the battle for 6th on track. Here comes Warsdale, number 99 machine, charging along the outside line. He's got Dean Gear supporting him on the outside line, as it is Dode Hoskins, Brian Lynch running 6th and 7th on the inside line. Six laps left to go for our competition here today at the Metro Ford Cup Series. We're going to have a lot of drivers trying to stretch it out on fuel, as the top 3 are holding on to everything they can. Five laps left to go. Are we going to see Steve the Mule Thompson, who is up 28 positions here today, try and put the pressure on Jones? Or is he going to be happy possibly bringing home a 2nd place just ahead of Dakota Pishki? It'll be interesting to see if and when we see any moves. I don't see any teams up here in the top 3 that are going to work together. It is every man for himself in the closing laps, as I believe Ken Huff and Kelly Cool are going to have to come down pit lane for a final stop. They're going to give away those 4th and 5th place spots. Hoskins, Lynch, Everhart also coming down pit lane. So now your new top 5 is Jones, Thompson, Pishki, Warsdale, and Gear. Your top 3 came in last time by lap 81, and Warsdale and Gear came in on lap 78. So everybody should be able to make it to the end here. Warsdale and Gear are going to be a little bit close. And they may be running on fumes by the time they cross the start-finish line. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out for them. They're about 4 seconds back from your lead pack. As the leaders are getting through lap traffic, I believe that's going to be Jonathan Green in the number 37 machine. Everhart makes his way back out on track as well. Now running 15th on the circuit. Three laps left to go. It's going to be 2 as they cross the line. Now the question is, we know who can make it till the end on fuel, but are we going to see any big battles here between Jones, Thompson, or Pishki? They've got about a 4-second advantage over Warsdale and Gear running 4th and 5th, and about 19 seconds over 6th place Joe Brown. Is Thompson and Pishki going to work together here at all, or are they going to settle for their current running order? White flag will fly here at Talladega. It's still Jones out front, Thompson second, Pishki third. Lap traffic hopping out of the way, not wanting to be involved in a final shootout. Jones trying to maybe throw a little bit of a block on Thompson and slow down any sort of run he may get. Pishki seems to have been holding back just ever so slightly. Maybe trying to get a big run on your top two drivers, Jones and Thompson. Thompson breaks out of line, looks to the outside line, not going to be able to make it happen though as they cross the line for the final time here at Talladega. Thompson's going to get close here at the end, but it's still going to be Jones by 0.02 of a second. Thompson will take second, and Dakota Pishki will bring home a third, as these three drivers really had the play of the day with fuel strategy. Coming on that lap 81 pit stop paid out major dividends, but it's going to be Jones picking up the race win here today, up 24 spots. Thompson's up 28 spots, and Pishki's up 26. But what a great race that was decided on strategy here today. And we're going to line our drivers up for their picture. And a great race with Jones, Thompson, and Pishki. And Jones is going to burn it down in style in the number 14 machine, picking up a major win here today. But Eddie Jones, number 14 machine, a well-deserved win, not having too many big issues here today, able to really bring it home. Now, he is not in the playoffs, but out of 3 starts, he's had a rough season with 2 DNFs. His highest finish was a 19th at Daytona. So this may be his first ever broadcasted win here for the Metro Ford Cup Series, as he will celebrate with the Polish victory lap here today, using up all of the tires. But man, oh man, what a race that was finally decided with that beautiful strategy. Up first in the booth, we've got Dakota Pishki bringing it home in third. Now Dakota with a race that started with an EOL and a drive-through penalty. I mean, you've got to be ecstatic to be up here in a third-place finish.
Oh, hell yeah, I'm ecstatic. I am fired up, I'll tell you that right now. I got to thank my teammates. Couldn't have done it without them. I want to thank family near and far. Awesome. I'm fired up. Awesome.
I mean, Dakota, last week you had a bit of a rough go. This week you're able to bring it home with what was probably the play of the day with you three drivers taking that lap 81 pit stop. Now, was that something you planned on going into tonight, or was it just a happy little coincidence that things really worked out for you?
You know what? To be honest with you, that was just a late call by one of the team members here, and thank gosh they brought me aboard, man. This is awesome.
Now, Dakota, what team members are you running with this season? We know you've kind of hinted at it, but who is actually on the team out there?
Yeah, I got signed up with Last Ditch Racing, Dwayne Mcarthur and Steve and Eddie and Clay and Brian. I mean, it's just an awesome group of guys.
Well, Dakota, congratulations, man. A night that started off pretty rough, ended up in, I mean, almost as good as a win to be able to bring home a third up 26 spots. Extremely impressive. Before we let you sign off and celebrate with the rest of the team, who would you like to give a shout-out to that's supporting you and the last-ditch guys here this season?
Hey, yeah, the OBRL for sure. Great group of guys. Want to, again, thank my family. And, again, Last Ditch Racing. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, great job as always, my friend. Great having you up here in the podium booth. We haven't seen you up here since, I think, Martinsville early on the season, and today you showed what it takes to put the number one machine up on the podium, and congratulations again, my friend.
Hey, thank you, James. Great job.
That was Dakota Pishki bringing home third. Up next, the world-famous Steve Thompson. Steve the Mule Thompson bringing home a second. Steve, it seemed like the tire strategy, or more so the fuel strategy, was a little bit gutsy, but really paid off for you guys here today.
Yeah, I want to thank Dwayne for helping us out on fuel strategy because I don't know, I'm not smart enough to figure that stuff out. So we owe the win to him, and thank our teammate Eddie Jones for giving up his golf game to come over here and help us in the playoffs. We appreciate it.
Well, Steve, I know the playoffs haven't been going super well for you, but you got to be happy. I mean, Talladega is always kind of a bit of a gamble on who survives the big one when it finally comes out and who has the best fuel strategy. Did you expect the race to go as clean as it did here today, or are you expecting more of a bloodbath later on in the race?
No, I kind of expect it to go kind of clean just because you can't pass. I mean, there's like we tried to get to the outside. We lost that lead pack before that second fuel stop there. And, I mean, there's like no passing. Even I tried to pass Eddie on the last lap there and side drafted him. I still couldn't get by him. So this package stinks.
Yeah, I think that's generally the agreement between broadcasters and racers alike. Doesn't lend itself to spectacular racing, but you guys kept it clean all night long. Now, final question, how are you feeling going into the Roval next week? Are you apprehensive about that, or what's the general sentiment going into it?
I think I can be a top 10 car. I just need to run a good, clean race and don't get any incident points. So it just depends if Eddie Jones shows up again next week, he'll win that because he's super fast. So on the road courses, so I'm comfortable on it. I'm not super fast or anything, but competitive. Top 10, I'll be happy.
Well, awesome. Steve, always a great time talking to my friend. Congratulations on a very well-deserved second tonight. That fuel strategy really paid off for you and the rest of the team. Before I let you sign off, go do the fun stuff and the admin paperwork, who would you like to give a shout-out to that may be supporting you behind the scenes this season?
I want to thank Ride TV for sponsoring this rig. And, of course, my thoughts still go out to Gary Corbett's wife, Lenore. Gary's on my car. He's a good friend of mine. So we're always thinking about you, Gary. I know everything's going good up there. You're playing your keyboard, kicking ass with everybody up there. So miss him. And anyways, thank my family, my wife, everybody that supports me and lets me do this racing. And of course, emetro4.com for sponsoring this series. He keeps the thing going and keeps broadcaster James on the air. So we appreciate everything that you do and everybody that's in the league. Thanks.
Well, appreciate you as well, Steve. Good job on a second tonight, and hope to see you do well at the Roval next week.
Thanks, man.
Up next, we've got Eddie Jones bringing it home. Eddie, you've got to be absolutely ecstatic. I think this is the best finish you've had so far this season. Everything kind of worked well in your favor tonight. I mean, did you expect things to go that great, or was this a pleasant surprise for you in the number 14 machine?
Oh, it was definitely a surprise. I usually never finish these races. Yeah, totally surprised.
Now, I mean, we kind of talk about it every week. Tracks such as Talladega and Daytona, always a bit of a gamble on how things are going to go, who's going to get involved in a crash, who's just going to have the best bit of luck. Did you have a strategy here tonight that was going to help you get up front, or was it just licking the stamp and setting it and seeing where everything falls out at?
Pretty much same strategy. Habit plate races, a lot of stuff not in your control. Just ride in the back, try to get your strategy together with your teammates, and then things just, fell together. We didn't get caught up in anything, so we were good.
Now, Eddie, was that late stop, that fuel strategy originally planned for you guys, that lap 81 pit stop, or was that something that kind of developed as tonight's race went on?
It developed as the race went on. Our Canadian crew chief, who his new name is, Dwayne, came up with that little strategy, and we threw it together, tried it out, and it worked out.
It worked out very well, picking up the first win for your eMetro Ford Cup Series career. I mean, you finished 24 spots higher than you started. You got to be ecstatic. Eddie, before I let you sign off and go celebrate with the rest of the Canadian tux-wearing guys, who would you like to give a shout-out to? Friends, family, sponsors, the floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, I've got to thank everybody. I mean, it's a great league, great drivers. Got a few rivals, but I've got to thank my teammates. All of them, the 67, the 97, the 1, the 24. Wasn't for them, we couldn't do this. You got to have teammates, and that's what happened.
Well, a lot of great friends, a lot of great racing, and again, huge congratulations on your first win this season, Eddie. I know you've got to be super ecstatic, and we'll let you go celebrate with the rest of the guys. But again, congratulations on a job well done here today.
10-4, thank you, buddy. Thanks for all you do.
Always a pleasure, sir. And that, my friends, is going to do it for the eMetro Ford Cup Series here at Talladega, where we saw Ragin' Eddie Jones pick up his first win with his teammates Steve Thompson, Dakota Pishki. I think they're teammates. We'll find out afterwards if that's correct. Lee Warsdale, Dean Gear picking up a top 5, but great racing that was decided on fuel strategy and risk management. As always, on behalf of OldBashersRacing.com as well as Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, thank you all so much for tuning in this Sunday morning, and we look forward to seeing you next week as we go to the Charlotte Roval. Have a great day and a great weekend, everybody.